My name is Sabrina Calder, and I'm 33 years old. Competence doesn't grandstand, it breathes. The dishwasher ticks to off-peak at 12:01 because I told it 2 months ago. The last cell in my budget sheet softens to green like a muscle unclenching. The folder labeled Wedding, Final Lives on my desktop with subtabs marked Paid. Order is a lullaby. No one thanks lullabies until the room goes loud. Noah and I had been together 2 years, engaged for 8 months, wedding in 3. Boyfriend is what I still called him in my head. Fiancé felt like a costume I hadn't grown into. I own my home outright. Bought it 6 years ago for $285K and paid it off last spring. My car is paid off too. I hold a 15% stake in Calder Freight, the logistics company my dad started and my brother, Miles, and I run now, worth roughly $900K on paper. My retirement accounts are healthy. Not rich, just careful. Noah is a dental hygienist. He makes around $58K, rents a tidy 2-bedroom, has lingering student loans he's whittling down. We'd talked about him moving into my place after the wedding, splitting groceries, streamlining life. It all made sense on paper. Last Thursday, we were at my dining table, turning RSVP cards into neat stacks. Yes, no, dietary restrictions. The venue was booked, 200 guests. His parents had given $7,000 toward the $22,000 total. I covered the remaining $15,000. Deposits locked in everywhere. I poured a whisper of Pinot and slid another RSVP into done. Noah set down his glass and cleared his throat like he'd practiced in the mirror. Sabrina, I've been thinking, he said. We should postpone the wedding, just until you put my name on the house, and the car, and your shares in the company. My pen stopped mid-checkmark. I'm sorry? It's only fair, he rushed on. Partnership, sharing everything. I need to feel secure, and right now everything's in your name. If you really loved me, you wouldn't want me to feel like a guest in our life. Before we're married, I said slowly, you want your name on assets I acquired before we even met. It's not about the past, it's about the future, he said too quickly. My mom says real marriages don't have power imbalances. There it was, the rehearsal. Diane Carlisle, perfect hair, perfect posture, a smile that always felt like a checkmate. Diane didn't make suggestions. She issued policies. I let my face smooth. That's a reasonable boundary you're setting, Noah. He blinked, surprised by how easily it seemed to land. So you agree? Because if not, we should postpone until you understand. I hear you, I said. Thank you for being clear. He smiled, missing the temperature drop in the room. I knew you'd come around once you thought about it. You're practical. He kissed my cheek like he'd asked me to pick up almond milk, then wandered back to his glass and the RSVPs. I excused myself to my office. The door clicked shut. The quiet felt like a bolt sliding home. I stared at the framed photo on my bookshelf, Dad handing Miles and me the first set of warehouse keys, then at the spreadsheet glowing green on my monitor. Some problems are a matter of subtraction. Call 1, Kara Patel, my lawyer friend from college who laughs first and drafts second. I laid out the terms. She went silent. Kara? I was waiting to see if this was a prank, she said. It's not. Okay. Do not put his name on anything preceding the marriage. That's a hard no. And postpone until you comply is an ultimatum, not a conversation. If this escalates, I'm your wall. Call 2, Miles at Calder Freight. He asked what? Miles said, somewhere between a choke and a laugh. Sabs, this is Diane's opera. Noah's just humming. Keep your stake locked down. I'll loop our accountant in, just in case any weird paperwork pops up. Call 3, the venue. This is Sabrina Calder, I said, steady. Reservation for October 12th under Calder Carlisle. I paid the $15,000 deposit in full. The wedding is being postponed indefinitely at the groom's request. I'd like to transfer the reservation and deposit to my name only for a private event. Same date, same package. A pause long enough to hear typing. Ms. Calder, the coordinator said carefully, our policy is... I have documentation of payment, I said. If the event labeled wedding is not occurring due to the other party's postponement, I'd still like to utilize the services I purchased. Let me speak with my manager. May I call you back? Of course. The call came 23 minutes later. Policy, it turns out, can be interpreted when receipts are clear. They would transfer the reservation and deposit to my name exclusively. I'd need to sign new paperwork in person. I thanked them, booked a 10 a.m. slot, and printed the email confirmation like it was a trophy. Back at the dining table, Noah was frowning over a card penciled gluten-free. Please, like it had insulted him personally. He looked up, soft relief melting into his expression. You okay? I'm fine, I said. I appreciate your honesty. It gave me a lot of clarity. He relaxed. Good. This is for us, you know? I do know, I said. It's very clear who it's for. That night I slept like the house itself was breathing with me, slow and even. In the morning, I drove to the venue, signed the transfer, and left with a neat packet of copies. The $15,000 stayed where it belonged, with the reservation now renamed Calder, Private Celebration. At lunch, I texted Noah. Me. You said we're postponing the wedding until I add you to everything I own. I respect your boundary. I've moved the venue reservation and deposit I paid to an event in my name. We should also take a break while you decide what you want. Please contact me only to arrange pickup of your things. The bubbles appeared, disappeared, appeared again. 16 calls followed over the next hour, all declined. My phone rattled like a trapped wasp on my desk. I turned it face down and finished reconciling a vendor invoice. Column J rolled obediently to 0. The doorbell rang at 4 p.m. Through the peephole, blowout curls, lacquered smile, pearls like punctuation. Diane. I opened the door only as far as the chain allowed. The late afternoon light cut a perfect line across the foyer tile. Sabrina, Diane said, voice professionally warm. We need to talk about this nonsense. You've, stolen a deposit? From a wedding you are canceling? I didn't cancel anything, I said. Noah postponed. I repurposed my own money for an event I will attend. She blinked, recalibrating. You're punishing him for wanting equality, for wanting security, a wife. A husband doesn't materialize from an ultimatum, I said evenly. And I'm not a wife yet. I'm a woman who paid a bill. Her smile tightened. You can play word games, dear, but you won't like how this looks. I'll be in touch. Please do, put everything in writing. I closed the door on her perfume and pressed my back against it like I was holding the house steady. The steadiness held me back. At 7 p.m., a message arrived from an unknown number with a letterhead attached. Hastings and Carlisle, attorneys at law, demanding return of the $15,000. A $7,000 reimbursement to the Carlisles, and $5,000 for emotional distress. A 4-point symphony of entitlement and legalese. I forwarded it to Kara with the subject line, and the opening act begins. Her reply came 3 minutes later. Popcorn's on. Drafting response. Also, don't be surprised if they try creative routes to access your accounts. Freeze anything joint-ish. Document everything. I stared at the screen until the letters steadied. Then I made a list. Change nothing about the house. Change nothing about the car. Lock down bank alerts. Pull credit. Save copies. Print duplicates. Put it all in a folder labeled Boundaries. Noah texted again at 9:14 p.m. Babe, please don't do this. Mom got ahead of herself. We can talk. Just put me on the house for now. We can do the rest later. I scrolled back to the line he'd rehearsed. Postpone until I comply. Reread it like a contract. Me. Noah, when someone ties love to a deed, they're negotiating a purchase, not a promise. The dots bubbled, then vanished. In the mirror above my desk, I caught my reflection. Hair scraped into a work bun. A soft crease between my brows I hadn't noticed before. I smoothed it with a finger. The house around me felt aligned, appliances humming, receipts filed, the quiet dignity of things that are paid for and under no one's thumb. A different kind of celebration began to take shape. Music loud enough to drown out old habits. A room full of people who didn't want anything from me but my company. A toast to the most boring, beautiful word in the world. Mine. I powered down the laptop, set my phone on Do Not Disturb, and let the silence keep its promise. The demand letter arrived Monday morning. Thick envelope, heavy font, arrogance by postage. Kara called before I even finished reading it. I saw the PDF you forwarded, she said. This isn't a legal notice. It's a tantrum on letterhead. Her response went out by noon. 3 precise paragraphs dismantling every absurd demand. Miss Carlisle announced an indefinite postponement contingent on Miss Calder transferring ownership of premarital assets. Mr. Calder declined. Funds were paid solely by Miss Calder. Parental contribution constituted a gift. Emotional distress is not compensable for an event voluntarily canceled. No funds will be remitted. Kara CC'd me and ended with, "Further baseless contact will be considered harassment." I printed a copy and slid it into my boundaries folder. By Thursday, the phone began its chorus. First, Brooke. "Sabrina, what are you doing? Noah's devastated." "Hi, Brooke. Don't hi me. You're throwing away 2 years over money." "I'm not throwing anything. Your brother demanded ownership of what I built before him. He just wants to feel secure. Would you marry someone and immediately give them your house, car, and business shares?" A pause. "That's different." "How?" "Because you're the woman. You're supposed to trust." I almost laughed. "I do trust. I trust the law." Click. Friday morning, my phone buzzed with a fraud alert from the bank. "Ms. Calder," the representative said, careful and polite. "Someone attempted to add a joint account holder to your checking account." "Who?" "I can't disclose, but the submitted documents listed a Noah Carlisle and carried a signature inconsistent with your file. We flagged it and froze the request." I felt the pulse rise in my throat. "That's a forged authorization. Please keep all records. I'm filing a report." By noon, I was at the precinct, recounting everything to a detective who listened like this was routine. Attempted identity fraud. Case number issued. That night, I pulled my credit report. 2 fresh inquiries, one from a national bank for a joint credit card, one from a mortgage lender. Both denied, both carrying my name beside Noah's. Kara again. "Document everything. This helps us if they push further. The stupidity is almost useful." Saturday afternoon, the doorbell rang again. I opened it just enough to see Noah, pale, sleepless, flowers hanging limp in his hand. "Sabrina, please, can we talk?" 5 minutes, I told myself. Nothing good ever takes longer. We stood on the porch. The late sun slid through the porch rails in even lines. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have given you an ultimatum. I was scared. Mom got in my head. We can forget it all. Move forward." "So you'll drop the demand for your name on everything?" His jaw tightened. "I still think it's fair, but we can talk after the wedding. It doesn't have to be before." "Someone forged documents to access my bank account," I said. "Someone tried to open credit in both our names. Was that you?" His face drained of color. That wasn't me. Mom thought she was just trying to show how easy it would be to merge things. She didn't mean..." "Commit a felony?" "Don't say that word. It's the word the police used." He stepped closer. "We're engaged, Sabrina. It's not fraud if we're building a life." "It is when you falsify my signature," I said. "We're not engaged anymore. There is no wedding. There is no we." Tears welled up, quick and childlike. "Please don't do this. She was trying to protect me." "Then she can explain that protection to the detective assigned to my case. Leave my property, now." He hesitated until I said softly, "If you don't, I'll add your name to the report." The bouquet fell onto the porch step. He left without another word. I didn't move until his taillights disappeared. Then I picked up the flowers, dropped them straight into the trash, and closed the lid with a final click. 3 days later, the phone rang again. Frank Carlisle, Noah's father, measured tone, same weariness I'd seen in his eyes at family dinners. "Miss Calder, this has gone too far. Let's all sit down and talk." "Frank," I said, "your wife forged documents in my name. Your son delivered an ultimatum tied to my assets. There's nothing left to discuss. Diane made a mistake. She's sorry. And Noah, he's young, scared. Women need security. Or con artists need leverage." Silence, then a sigh. "That's harsh." "Honest," I corrected. "Did you know about any of this?" Longer pause. "She mentioned helping him feel secure. I didn't know how." "She used my name and signature on forged applications." Another silence, longer still. "I'm sorry this happened," he said finally. "I really am." "So am I said. "I liked you." He hung up quietly. The next week, I signed the final documents for my venue reservation. Still October 12th, still mine alone. And that's when the idea clicked into focus. If they thought I'd roll over and refund their demands, they didn't know me at all. The invitation design was simple. Matte, black, silver font. "You are invited to celebrate Sabrina Calder's Independence Day, October 12th. Dinner, drinks, dancing. Dress code, whatever makes you feel powerful." 50 guests confirmed in the first 2 days. Miles called laughing so hard he nearly choked. Kara RSVP'd with 2 lawyers and a bottle of champagne. I pinned the invitation to the fridge, right where Noah's old to-do list used to hang. Under it, I wrote in ink, "Boundaries are permanent fixtures, not negotiable contracts." And for the first time in weeks, I smiled at my own handwriting. I didn't expect the Kellers to go quietly. Entitlement doesn't dissolve, it metastasizes. The week before the party, the venue coordinator called me. Ms. Calder, we've received several calls from a Diane Carlisle. She's insisting you're using services meant for her son's wedding. She's upset. I imagine she is, I said evenly. The services were paid for with my funds, transferred legally into my name. If she arrives and causes a scene, please contact the police. There's an active identity fraud report under her name. A long exhale on the other end. Understood, ma'am. We'll be ready. I hung up and added one more line to my list. Expect disruption. Enjoy anyway. October 12th arrived soft and sharp. Autumn sunlight is slicing through the blinds, air clean enough to taste. I slipped into a black satin dress, hair swept up, lips bare. Not a bride, not anyone's anything. Just myself, calibrated. Miles picked me up with a grin. Ready for your coronation? Coronation implies ruling, I said. I'm just reclaiming jurisdiction. The venue had transformed overnight. White linens traded for deep green, candlelight pooling like small suns across the tables. My name alone on the welcome sign. Sabrina Calder. Independence Day celebration. Guests trickled in. Friends, family, employees, Kara and her partner carrying champagne. Music swelled. Laughter replaced the wedding playlist that would never play. Kara raised her glass early. To women who read contracts, she said, and to those who file police reports before apologies. Laughter rippled through the room. I felt the release, like something unclenching behind my ribs. Halfway through dinner, the DJ hesitated mid-song. One of the venue staff approached, whispering in my ear, "She's here." I turned. Through the glass doors, Diane stood outside in a cream coat, holding a handmade sign scrawled in red marker, "This woman stole my son's wedding." A crowd formed behind her, curiosity, phones lifted. Kara set down her fork. "Showtime?" "Stay seated," I said. "Security's got her." The two venue guards moved quickly, but Diane's voice cut through the music. "She stole from my family, from my son, from love itself." Phones recorded. Whispers spread like static. I watched through the window, detached, almost serene, as security called the police. When the officers arrived, Diane tried to push past them, shouting that I was a thief, that she was owed a celebration. One officer, patient and practiced, asked, "Ma'am, do you have any proof of payment?" She faltered. "It was for my son's wedding, our money, her responsibility." "Ma'am, please step aside." Her refusal earned her handcuffs and a ride to the precinct for trespassing and disturbing the peace. Inside, the DJ restarted the music just as she was guided to the patrol car. The lights flashed red and blue across the dance floor. Miles raised his glass. To dodging bullets. Everyone toasted. For the first time in months, the air felt weightless. Later that night, under string lights, Kara leaned close. "You know," she said, "I've represented clients who needed revenge, but this is elegance." "It's not revenge," I said. "It's closure with a playlist." She smiled. "Closure with paperwork, technically." The party swirled around us. Music, champagne, laughter. My mother hugged me longer than she ever had, whispering, "I'm proud of you." Even Miles looked moved when he clinked his glass against mine. You turned fraud into folklore. Maybe that's what it was, a myth rewritten in real time. At midnight, I stood alone by the fountain. Candlelight shimmered on the water, small pieces of reflection flickering and whole. The world had not ended. The house was still mine. My name was still clean. My boundaries were intact. And somewhere across town, a woman who thought manipulation was a form of love sat under fluorescent lights signing her release papers. Justice isn't loud. It hums, the same way competence does. I went home barefoot, heels dangling from my fingers, the night air full of quiet applause. 6 weeks after the party, I was sipping coffee when Kara texted, "You'll want to see this." Attached was a courthouse notice. State versus Diane Carlisle. 4 counts. 3 of identity fraud, 1 of attempted theft by deception. Apparently, the investigation unearthed more than I'd reported. Diane hadn't just tried to add Noah to my bank account and credit. She'd also filed a fraudulent quitclaim deed to add his name to my property title. The county clerk caught it when the signature didn't match the one on file and called the detective on my case. She pled guilty to avoid trial. Sentence, 18 months probation, 200 hours community service, $3,800 restitution for legal fees, and mandatory counseling. The same precision I'd used balancing budgets now existed in a courtroom transcript. Kara called that night. She's lucky the judge went easy, she said. Frank testified she's done this before. Loan documents, co-signing without consent. This was the last straw. Frank's divorcing her? Filed this morning. Apparently she forged his signature on a line of credit years ago. He buried it to keep the peace. The silence on my end said enough. Peace that depends on silence isn't peace. 2 weeks later, I got a message on LinkedIn from Jennifer Cole. Subject: You don't know me, but I dated Noah before you. The message read, He told you he'd been single 6 months before you met, right? He wasn't. We were engaged. He tried to get me to put his name on my condo and my brokerage account before the wedding. When I said no, he called it off and tried to claim I owed him for emotional investment. I had to threaten a restraining order to make him stop contacting me. I saw your story online. I'm sorry, you're not alone. I stared at the message until the letters stopped swimming. Patterns, it turns out, don't end with boundaries. They just hit walls they can't climb. I forwarded it to Kara. Good documentation, she said. If they ever circle back, we'll have a history of behavior. Then came Frank again. He called, voice softer now, older somehow. Sabrina, I know you didn't have to, but Diane used our joint savings to fund that $7,000 wedding contribution without telling me. My attorney's untangling it. I can't legally demand it back, but... I cut him off gently. You'll get a check for $7, the emotional refund rate. He laughed, the first real laugh I'd ever heard from him. You know, you're a good woman. Just a thorough one. I mailed the check the next day. Memo line, for coffee, not chaos. By winter, the story had become folklore among my friends. At work, the team called October 12th Calder Independence Day. Anytime someone walked away from a toxic deal, someone else would raise a mug and say, boundaries, baby. Even the venue coordinator sent a thank you note. Your event was the most memorable of the season. You're welcome back anytime, preferably without handcuffs involved. One Sunday afternoon, I drove past my old house and realized it no longer felt like mine in the way it used to. It wasn't a fortress anymore. It had served its purpose. I sold it, bought a smaller place closer to the company office. Fresh paint, less space, no ghosts. No dating yet, not out of fear, just deliberate quiet. My therapist calls it recalibration. I call it breathing room. Sometimes I think about how different everything could have been if I'd said yes, if I'd convinced myself that love meant surrender, that security was something I owed rather than something I built. But that's not the story I chose. The revenge was never the party, the letter, or the police report. The revenge was clarity. When people show you they value your assets more than your partnership, believe them. When they justify crime as love, believe that too. And when the world expects you to yield for peace, remember, peace without boundaries is just permission for someone else's chaos. So yes, I lost $15,000 to a canceled wedding, technically. But I kept the only things that mattered: my home, my company, my sanity, my name. And that night under the string lights, when laughter drowned out sirens, I realized something I wish I'd learned sooner. The most satisfying revenge isn't destruction, it's dignity. It's walking away without flinching. It's owning the kind of quiet that money can't buy. Because sometimes the best happily ever after is the one you spend with yourself.